So go ahead and just get started. What do you have? And so start with that. And also, I would like to know a little bit about yourself. So kind of, help me understand.
So, I am currently a fraud investigator for a national bank. So I do fraud investigation, account management, and resolutions of claims. And I've been thinking about cybersecurity for some time now, maybe about a year. We recently got notification that our operations center will be moving. So they're moving to India and to Arizona. I don't want to transfer to Arizona. So I decided that this is a time to maybe start looking into different options. I still want to work with the banks. I like the aspect of it and the investigations, of course, and protecting people's accounts, definitely. So I thought cybersecurity might be a good option. I've interviewed for a couple positions that after I did the interviews kind of sound like cybersecurity, where they want you to monitor programs and see if there's any they didn't mention hackers, but any threats, and then being able to stop them beforehand. So it sounds similar to cybersecurity. That's the reason why I started looking into it. Um, and yeah, I like the investigation part of it, like I said.
Right, right.
Um, so I personally didn't know anything about it, so I just took the initiative and started looking up different things on YouTube, Reddit, where I met you, and just learning about different career options within cybersecurity roles. And what I learned is that I have a lot to learn. There's a lot of things that I might not even know about that I need to learn. I did learn about the different certifications, but just because you have a certification doesn't mean that you know exactly what you're doing, or that um, you'll be good at your job. So that's when I decided to reach out to you and actually have a couple of sessions with you to see what's the best way to go about this.
Sure. So let's step back and let me understand about your qualification and education. Like, do
Mhm.
you have a bachelor's degree? If so, then in which area? If not, then.
I don't. I don't have a bachelor's. I have an associate in film. So I started off as a film major, and I got into the banking industry a little bit after college. I've taken some courses in marketing and business administration, but I don't have a bachelor's. Mhm.
So on your current role as a fraud investigator, how long have you been doing as a full-time job?
Fraud investigator, almost 3 years now.
3 years?
But I've been with the bank for about 10 years.
Fraud investigator, 3 years.
Mhm.
And in the bank, overall experience was non-technical before this?
Yes, so
Okay.
it was more service, more service.
Yeah, so we'll keep it 3 years on a technical side. Um, Being a fraud investigator, I know I can Google it, but define me a typical day.
So for typical day, currently I'm on a rapid response team, or timely returns, what we call. I have a certain amount of cases assigned to me. These cases or these claims were filed within the last 24 hours, and it can be anywhere from $200 to, I think the highest today was probably like $56,000, where I determine if it's fraud. So I do a small investigation, and if it is fraud, I submit the information for the funds to be returned to our customer.
So what do you get involved in any technical area of fraud? Like, do you get exposed how the fraud happened? Like, was it the email phishing or credential leak? Anything on the technical side of it?
Yes. So there's some instances where people get phishing scams, where they click on a link and they sign on thinking it's a like a link from actual Wells Fargo. There's incidents where people apply for loans, or they go online to apply for a loan. The loan lets them know that they've been approved, but they need to enter their credentials to deposit the money into their account. Very obvious phishing scheme there as well. A lot of stolen items as well. But for technical, phone scams, where they
Hmm.
do it's for older people, but they'll be on
Right.
their computer and they receive a message saying that their information has been hacked, and they need to write a check to be able to have the virus cleaned out.
Hmm.
Things, yeah, that
Right.
definitely happens. Currently, I'm not working in card, so I don't get to see much of the digital side.
Right.
I do see scams. I'm doing paper checks at the moment, so
Right.
paper.
Right. Okay. Um, so, and what kind of developed your interest into cybersecurity, and what motivates, what inspired you? Why in cybersecurity?
Well, I like the aspect of investigations and protecting customer accounts. I
Hmm.
really like that. That's something that's really fulfilling in my current role. Um, and I think I'd moving into cybersecurity, I'd be able to do that on a larger scale, with protecting customers on digitally with um, like online banking,
Hmm.
debit transactions. Um, yeah, so doing, I feel like it'd be kind of what I'm doing now, but on a larger scale.
Right, right. Okay. So so you mentioned investigation piece a couple of times. So you like to problem solving and analytical, getting into the weeds. Why did thing happen the way it happened, and get into those. And so that's that's one of those skill set in cybersecurity. Before I get into more into that, like um, how much of a knowledge, if I were to have you explored any, you said you explore YouTube and all that, so what kind of you l- have found, and if you were going to the learning path, what have you found so far, and did you find any interest in one of those? If
So I kind of looked up the basics of cybersecurity. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a background on this. I didn't really know. So I learned a lot about the different roles, like ethical hackers, black
Right.
hat, white hat, gray hat, kitty hackers. What they do. I learned about some major cybersecurity incidents that's happened.
Mhm.
I learned that Israel is probably one of the highest or leading entities in cybersecurity. They
Yeah.
train a lot of our US government as well. Um, I learned that cybersecurity is not a product, but it's a practice. It's something that you constantly have to be doing.
Yep.
It's not like you set up a program and then just let it happen.
Yeah.
You have to constantly. There's also different reasons why somebody would have a cybersecurity attack on a company. It
Right.
might be financial gain, reputational gain. It might be stealing of information or customer information for future financial
Right.
gain. Um, and there's a couple different types of cybersecurity incidents that might happen. Don't remember their names, but there's some where they attack the computer, the device directly, or they will use servers or people's profiles to then get into the system to be able to pull information that way. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it that I've learned so far.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There are many roles, many directions, and definitely I can recommend you to start learning because you already have exposure to phishing and scams. So best ways to level up the things you already know. So if you know the fraud and phishing, so how would you know the phishing occurs? What does it go? What goes behind the scene? What do they do to target? Because those people, when they target, they have a motivation, and usually most of the cases, the motivations around money. You mentioned the phone scams. Basically, they target elderly people. End of the day, motivation is money. So majority of the cases, there are cyber attacks on a financial institution, on banks, and all those things. It's just simple as that the motivation is around money most of the time, right? So think of this cybersecurity. I mean, in fact, I did a podcast with one of my friend last month, and we were talking about the same thing. It's a practice, it's a security practice basically. And it's think of this, if you ask somebody who wants to become a doctor, then you will ask them, what kind of doctor, right? A neurologist, cardiologist, a nephrologist. Same thing, everything under the umbrella of information security. Then we have cybersecurity, and that cybersecurity can be into the operations, offensive, defensive. You mentioned about ethical hacker and all that. So there are offensive practices, there are defensive practices, there are security engineering, security operations. So uh, there are many areas, and it depends because once you start learning some of the technical areas, then you will have more idea. Hey, this is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell to the people most of the time, to the new people coming in the industry, is do not follow the same path people have been following for the last 20 years. Things have changed. We did not have cloud adoption the way we have it today in the last 10 years. We are talking about AI. The
Mm-hmm.
blast radius of the threat has changed because of cloud, and we're going to see some more worse scenario with the AI. People can make virus and phishing attacks much more efficient and accurate with the AI. So things are evolving and changing. So in some cases, would not make sense to learn the 20 years old technology and tools because you're already going to in the market which is already saturated and competitive.
Uh-huh.
So there are some areas, where you want to be starting and learning the skills, so which will be a less saturated market, and also it will help you keep growing. So again, understanding in this information security, we have, as I mentioned, we have operations, architecture, engineering. There is also assurance, and there is also governance, risk, and compliance. There are some organization non-profit like ISC2, which offers CISSP, which is a top-rated certification, and also ISAGA, which is more on a security audit and governance. And I will most likely share some of the information on the email, and I'll give you some of the playlist and go and watch those. And so you will have to do some homework in few weeks and all that. So it will give you the taste, by watching some area of IT or security will make you feel like very dry, and some of them may be interesting. So you will find your
Yeah.
interest. There's no one solution and one career path for everyone, but that's the journey. Um, and you also talked about certification, right? So certification, it does matter, but I don't recommend people to do tons of certification. You just pick and
Mm-hmm.
choose some good quality certification and make sure you have good enough projects. So if you're in a financial banking industry, you can easily find similar jobs in your organization. You can do some internship, which of course I can help you where to reach and what to find out. So this will also help you to grow within your organization. And the benefits of working in a banking industry, in a financial industry, in a health industry, maybe in a government, right? These are highly regulated environment, and you're lucky you're already in that sector, because these companies have a very mature cybersecurity or information security practices, because
Mm-hmm.
they have to be compliant. A company, a health software development company has to be compliant. For example, high trust. A bank would have to comply with, I don't know, SOX. So they have because they have to go through the audit. And in order to have a successful audit, they have to implement the control. So this has been doing that for so many years, but now audit is good, but there is something we call security assurance. So this is where you have to prove, hey, I have the settings for best security practices from security, but it's not on the paper. This is really has been implemented. So that's totally a different area. And for a career, so again, there is no such thing. Uh, you cannot start in one of these areas, right? If you go Google it, YouTube, people will talk about only two or three roles, become SOC analyst or ethical hacker.
Yeah.
I tell them, dude, there are like 10 different roles.
Yeah.
Just, find your interest. Just don't follow. If you have an interest, go about it. But it's not limited. Some people send me some thing, hey, they're confused with that they need to have a coding to in cybersecurity. I say, no, hell no. I'm not a coder. I know good enough. I can read through the line. I can understand what's going on, but
Uh-huh.
I don't have to write a code unless I have to work for a company like Cisco and make a firewall or Palo Alto. You know what I mean? So, so there are a number of paths. So I'll make a pause. You have any question now?
At this moment, I don't. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. I don't know the name of it, but it would be continuing with like the financial departments or account protection for our elderly customers.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that would be called though.
Yeah, I can
Like
tell you. You can look into that's it's called identity theft.
identity theft. Okay.
And for identity theft, there are multiple areas. You can find a product which sell the solution. So you don't want to go to that path. Um, on technical side, there. So again, how would you? So think step back and think about this. What would you do to make a secure protection of our identity? Like say you log in yourself to your email system, and how do you protect your account? You put a long phrase password. So a 6 character password is way less stronger than a 12 character password or 16 character because for that you need more computational power and then it may take days to break that. So
Hmm.
example, if you have to tell somebody, hey, just increase the length of password and make it a passphrase. Hey, hi, I had a interview call today, this to make it a long string. That could be a password versus your dog name is easily to crack. Simple practice. So in that, even you're not implementing multi-factor. So increasing the length, you're developing the control to protect your identity. So because we have so many data breaches, if you look at it, T-Mobile and all those banks, hackers collect the data. They have your first name, last name, address, most likely social, and most likely your password. If you have not changed in the last 6 months, probably they have your password. So when you put a new password, you got to make sure what are the best security practices to have a password protection for those accounts. So they will recommend you to have a long phrase password and the multi-factor authentication, like your authenticator app.
Hmm.
So that's the end user settings you have. But if you want to grow more into the career, you need to understand what those technologies are behind the scene, which is
Yeah.
where I preach about learn cloud security. Then how do you implement these control in Microsoft Azure or AWS or Google Cloud? You have to pick one of those and slowly, gradually learn that, understand the theoretical concepts, and then even within an organization, you can be part of those team who provide cybersecurity awareness training. That's the best way to go and learn and show your interest and uh, become part of the team who sends internal educational purpose phishing emails to the employees. They do not click, right? They do campaigns.
Yes.
So that's one of the areas you want to explore. Ask them and show your interest and see if you can join them.
It's actually pretty funny. Yesterday, out of all days, yesterday I got an email notification that they're doing a cybersecurity educational event. I signed up to do all of them. It starts from March 5th to May 16th. It's every once a week. So I signed up to do that, and hopefully I get to meet some people and network that way as well.
Yeah. Ask them. So I'll give you some lead question. Once you do that, set up a one-on-one session or whichever the team is, right? And ask them, hey, you guys do this phishing training. And once you get the data, so and you do it also, so do you see any improvement? And what's the success rate? Because imagine if they do it this quarter, their expectation is that less people will click that email. So they should be seeing some improvement from every quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose. So ask those questions. Hey, what tool do we use? Because they might be using know before. Just note it down. And KNOW. B as a boy. Number 4. Know before. So they may be using this tool, or they may be using Rapid7. If you Google it, yeah, there'll be some other more. So it depends what tool they use to run the campaigns. And every user who clicks on that link, they will have the visibility, and the user who do not and mark as a spam.
So they can see who clicked on it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
And not because um I'm not calling out your employer name, but I'm saying the companies. I know some of my friends in their companies, they even IT people, they click it, you know. So the way they enforce is that they think if you click it more than 3 times, they do have some penalties, financial penalties. Even they reduce their bonus or something along those lines.
Well, I mean, it's a test, but you're putting the company at risk. You're not meeting
Exactly.
your requirements. You're still, um, yeah, you're putting the
Yeah,
company at risk.
it's an enterprise risk, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they have the visibility in the data. So when you go and meet them, ask them. They will not show the data unless you become part of that team, join them. But this will help you to start the conversation and tell them, hey, I'm interested. I want to learn about it. How do you do that? How does it work? What product do we use? How does it help? How does it help us to reduce the organizational level risk along those lines?
I have two mouses. I'm getting them confused with my screens. Yeah. Okay. Great.
And I will send you some. There are some free courses and certification available from ISC2. It says something cybersecurity. I'll send you the link. It's free training plus the certification. So it's worth having it, and within your internal organization, once you do that, show them. And also, I'll send you one Azure or one AWS fundamentals for cloud computing, which you must know. It talks to you about the different region. I think of this as a mandatory. The way you use your cell phone, nobody has to teach you. You just use it, right, by nature. So that's the reason I tell everybody must know what the cloud computing fundamental is, because you don't have any access to the physical hardware. You only have access to the interface, basically.
Hmm.
But you manage all those resources, underlying resources. That's the conceptually you need to know. Because you're getting into the security, you need to understand how other people who misuse those technology. So you kind of be having the idea. And one more term or area to understand to get an idea what is blue teaming versus red teaming. Red teaming is offensive, blue teaming is defensive, and there are more jobs in blue teaming versus red teaming. So that's one of those areas to look into that.
Okay. Um, I know you mentioned that I don't necessarily need to know coding. It's not like a requirement, but it's good to know enough.
Yeah.
Should I look into doing it maybe like Python or some sort of training through that, or should I wait a little bit until I decide like what role I kind of want to go into?
Either or depend on your time. But eventually, it will be good to have on your resume. If you wanted to do Python, also want to look into PowerShell.
PowerShell.
Yeah.
I mentioned Python because that's what I've seen everywhere. Um,
everywhere.
like everywhere, like all the boot camps that you look at, like I was looking at like syllabuses to see if there's like something that I can
Yeah.
go off of. But everybody mentions Python, so I thought maybe that would be it. But um,
Yeah, so
so
so when you look at Python, look at the project when you get trained on. So basic know-how is fine, but if you looked at it, one of those example in the boot camp, so understand what they're trying to achieve in that exercise using the Python. And yeah, it's good to have a good basic knowledge of Python. But I tell you one more tip here. If you use ChatGPT, you can literally convert a code from one Python to another language like Java. Just type the code in ChatGPT, it will just convert it. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So ChatGPT is very good. You can type even ChatGPT, hey, generate me a code, how to find the list of all user in my organization using Python. If it works, I have not used it, or I have used PowerShell. So it will just spit out the code for you, but you have to read and make sure. And then sometime if you have Windows 10 or Windows 11 at your home, you can develop your own lab and run and practice those scripts, even Python or PowerShell.
I have I think I have it on my laptop. My laptop is kind of old, so to do that, would I need to have like a more updated computer or just try
Nah,
to run it like
yeah,
okay.
it's a unless break was very slow, you don't need to upgrade anything. It's just they just work with the module. You'll have to install the PowerShell libraries or Python libraries on your computer. They're lightweight. Also, yeah, in those, also you will have to have some exposure for the command line when you started looking at those boot camps. Understand some of the basic command line, like how do you find your computer's IP address.
Hmm.
So you go to the command line and you type ipconfig/all. So again, if you ask this question to the chat GPT, it will answer you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But what to ask, that's the question, right?
Yes. What?
So for that, you can have a reference book. You don't have to do certification or anything. Look at CompTIA. Network Plus would have those basic command lines for
Network.
networking. We have networking basics for DNS, IP addressing, subnetting. Um, you should be able to find in the CompTIA Network Plus.
Okay. And then um do I know I'm looking at like software technically, like the inner workings of the computer. I need to learn how networks connect or how they work.
Yeah.
Do I need to I mean I don't need to, but should I learn like the hardware as well, like how like the systems like components work within the computer?
Yeah, I mean, if that can help you in a long run, let's say 3 to 5 years, if you want to become an architect role,
Uh-huh.
if you envision yourself, hey, I want to be an architect, so knowing the components really help how the system work.
I don't necessarily see myself as an architect, but I was just wondering if that would be something that I should have some knowledge in
In
or
in in a short term, let's say plan your career for the 1 year next year, like 2 years, let's say where you want to be getting a job and cybersecurity and all that, right? So fundamentals of the networking is important, which I mentioned, Network Plus. Cloud fundamentals you need to know. Uh, you don't want to be working in a company where because you work at a good Fortune 50 companies today, and if you look at, nobody's going to hire you to set up the underlying hardware infrastructure. That's not security. And even if you were going to work, let's say set up a security appliance or firewall, they're all virtual appliances. Then you will have to practice that niche, learning that product from that vendor itself. So that's a later part. But I don't see, as I said, just learn the cloud fundamentals to start with.
okay.
And then we can sync up sometime later and see where your understanding, if that need be. But right now, just start with the all the cloud related stuff.
Okay, so you're gonna send me a link on email with the cloud related videos and
E-
free certifications that I should take a look at and start working on. Um, Start looking into Python, as like maybe just like watching videos or small things. Assignments will be later on in the future, but for now, focus on the cloud fundamentals. Fundamentals. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do these classes here with Wells Fargo with my bank as well, and we'll see what I learn from them. If I have any questions, I'll make sure to reach out to you. Um,
All right, sounds like a plan.
Sounds like fun. Thank
So,
you
yep,
so much.
I will send you those. And
Yes, I'm so excited. I know that I could do this on my own. I just need some direction because I know there's a lot that I don't know, and I don't want to start looking in places that I don't need to be. So thank you so much for your time
yeah,
today. See you there.
yeah, before we hang up, I always tell people two things or two examples. One is I will give you the workout plan, but you got to do the workout. And second example is I can be a GPS, but you have to go to your destination.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, P.
That's great. Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah,
I'll talk to you later.
yeah. Bye bye.